beautiful in the spirit, mind, body, and soul. She's very conscious of what she's talking about today. And she's here today to talk to us about her book. Let me give you a little rundown on it. She's a therapist. She's also an author, book writer, and she's also a successful entrepreneur in her field, loving and caring woman. And today, world, I want to introduce y'all to Miss Sophia Russell. How you doing today, Miss Sophia?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Much appreciation, brother.
Man, it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing.
Thank you.
So, Miss Sophia, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. It's a beautiful morning out here, a little crispy cold, but that always gets the blood flowing. So
that's right. Get that good coffee in you on. You hear me? Get that good coffee in you on. So, Miss Fee, I want to thank you today for taking your time out. Just giving me a moment of your time to be able to talk to the people today about enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment, also about your new project that you're working on, your new book. And before we go into depth, could you tell them a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind?
Yes, my name is Sophia Russell. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. Before that, a life coach. And before that, I worked in supervision at a bank for about 20 years. So I have a lot of history behind me. In these endeavors, I've really, I spent about 20 years as a Christian, from about the teenage years through my 30s. So I had a lot of education in the church, experience in the church, and I would never trade that back because I became really devoted to that religion. It wasn't something that I just felt like I inherited from my family or because of where I live. I really took on the belief that that was the way that you serve the Creator. And so in doing that, I wanted to do that to the best of my ability. And as I studied the Bible daily, read it 2 to 3 times, I've read the whole thing over the years. And I started to notice discrepancies within it. And so when you really seek to find truth just comes to you. You don't really have to bend over backwards. It starts to chase you almost. So I through that exploration with the Bible, I started to find out that there were other books, like in the Old Testament, it'll tell you to refer to the book of Jasher, or, it'll name
book of Enoch, books. Yeah.
Yes, Enoch. Yeah. But those books aren't there. So I started to, okay, where are these books? We have the internet now. Can I find them? So I started to do that. And then I started to find older teachings, esoteric teachings that, predate the Bible by 1,000
Sumerian tablets. Yeah, Sumerian tablets, Gilgamesh.
Sumerian tablets.
Yeah, talking about Gilgamesh and all of those good characters.
Yes. And so in that, I started to uncover new truths. Now, also, during this time, I was in a transition where I had ended one marriage. I had been single for about 4 years, and I met my current husband. And looking back, I can see how the universe was maneuvering me, because as I was in this kind of state of confusion and really fear, really a lot of fear.
Do you think that was the biggest that was the biggest part of the transition was fear?
Was what?
Was fear. Because change kind of shakes everybody. So, I just want to know, for the people that's listening, I just want to know, how was it going into the transition? I know I heard you say that
it was very scary. It was very scary. Yeah, because being in the church, you learn that the devil prowls around looking for someone to devour. There's scriptures that you kind of get taught that that there's this devil out here and it is something to fear.
Yeah.
And so as I started to learn other things, a lot of fear did set in. Am I being tricked? Is this the devil? Is this what the church warned me about?
Yeah. Is this God? Is this false teaching? False prophets?
False prophets and all these kind of things. It becomes very confusing. Yeah. But I know that God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of strength and courage. Wherever I focus my attention is what is going to be nourished, be amplified. So I started to just meditate, You know, a lot of the old teachings, you know, we see Buddha and monks and all these, you know, people meditate, but more and more over the last, you know, 10 or so years, probably more and more people are meditating. And I started to meditate about 10, 12 years ago. And in that, I built a stronger connection with my creator. The fear started to subside and clarity started to come in to where I no longer felt like I had to explain myself, you know?
Yeah.
And all of the truth that I was learning, I wanted to share. And so that's what led me to write the book, Soul Walk, Before, During, and After Life.
Yeah.
So it really helped me to...
I see that you have a quote on there by Armin Ra. I see that you have a quote on there by Armin Ra.
Yes. Yes. There's a series of books called The Raw Material.
Yeah.
And these books are through a woman or a group of people, about 3 of them. And the woman was a channel. And the group spent time in meditation for many years. The leader of the meditation group was a physicist and college professor named Don Elkins.
Yeah.
And he was leading this meditation group for almost 20 years because of his study about extraterrestrial life. So he felt like through meditation they could connect. And so over time, this one woman who joined the group, she was able to connect with a group of beings called Ra.
Yeah.
And so there is a whole set of books called The Raw Material with the communication that they received from Ra. Now, you're going to get a whole different story, not a whole different, but a little bit different story from that set of books to what you learn in Egyptology.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's just very different when you're channeling the being rather than getting written history from people that just had their own experience.
Yeah, you know, even speaking with, like you saying, like stepping into that wave of information. I think, I also come from a Baptist background. I also studied with the Moorish Science Temple of America. I studied with the Nation of Gods and Earth. I studied from Islam, Buddha, Christianity. And, as I studied those teachings, like you, I had a traditional background of being Baptist. And the more that I studied and came into the enlightenment of the teachings and understanding of what was going on, I started to look at it as a growth or elevation. Because it also speaks in the Bible about you can't just give you, got to give you milk right here as a babe. Can't just give you milk straight out. And I think that when we step into these, and I think that when we step into these new consciousness or higher frequencies, when we do step into this type of knowledge, the transition of going in, like you said, the spiritual belief or how you've been raised until you come into your own understanding. Like I did a lot of study with, I did studies on books like Zachariah Stitch. I watch a lot of what you call it on the Animal Channel, the History Channel, or the Ancient Aliens. I can't keep my head out. I really think I think I can read the hieroglyphics.
I love Ancient Aliens.
I think I can read the hieroglyphics, and it just when you start to tap into that type of information and the exposure that it gives you, it really makes you look at it from like Inky. Was Inky really for real? Was what Marduk really trapped up under the pyramids? The water then backslid from the Euphrates River? Is it really, it makes you start to, because it goes into the ancient Sumerian teachings and it speaks about, the Gilgamesh supposed to be Noah and stuff like that. And then you take these stories and, the story of Isis and Horus, supposed to be Jesus and Mary, you know what I'm saying? And going back to the ancient sun worship, what they would call sun worship or Ra, you know what I'm saying? Then, to still be able to say, as I read the teaching that say that Amun Ra implanted his imprint so strong in the game to when you say amen, you really giving him praise. So, when I was coming into that type of knowledge, it was real spooky. You feel what I'm saying? Just being honest, because you feel like you're straying away from your family's traditional belief. And what if you get...
Well, it's kind of, Brian, it's kind of hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like our teachers.
Yes, if you're reading the Bible without just listening to the preacher, and, a lot of times we're sitting in church and we're distraught, we're worried.
And they just reading from phrases that just kind of help
money problems, family problems. And we're looking for some strength and some encouragement and, some wisdom to kind of make it through that. And it's so much more deeper than that. Like you said, milk. Paul said, I'm giving you milk, not solid food, because you behave like spiritual infants.
Yeah, you ain't ready.
And I even quote that in the book because I'm referencing my book that it's time for humanity to get off of the bottle, and my book is not necessarily solid food, but I reference it as kind of Gerber food, like the baby food, because still there's a lot of people that are not ready for solid food, but they need kind of transition from these old teachings, these limiting teachings, these really, they limit you and they keep you in a box, and you are kind of miserable in there
because it's scary. People scared of change.
Yeah, you think you need to be in there to serve God.
Yeah, you people scared of change.
My real self, I'm not, I'm hurting God or I'm doing something against God, and that's just not true. So I wanted to write something that's kind of a transition from that milk to more solid food.
Yeah.
Introducing that there are ETs all through the Bible. And so I show where the scriptures say that this being came down, like for Ezekiel.
Let me ask you about Nimrod. What you think about Nimrod? You think that he was part of? What you think?
Well, I think they were all ETs.
Yeah.
I don't think that anything. The Bible kind of blends in the one true creator that is invisible with those entities that came here and genetically modified life. So the Bible kind of has both of those in there. And unless you're studying and other things, you
so let me ask you this. I don't mean to cut you off. I just got this quick thought. So do you believe? So do you believe that the Garden of Eve was also just a breeding camp? Well, not going to say just a breeding camp, but it was a lab to be able to create the species.
Yes, because what we call paradise in the true word just means enclosed space, right? So they say they were in a paradise. But yes, it was a space where they were being monitored to see if this was a successful hybridization. It's the same as geneticists do today.
Modifying.
They have labs. They used to have
modifying genes.
What was that?
Modifying genes, yeah.
Yes, gene modification. Geneticists, yeah. Alchemists. They we think that and that's the arrogance of most of humanity, that out of the trillions of planets and stars that we're the only one. And so it can be shocking, but people have to start waking up. There's too much video now. There's, pyramids are being uncovered all over the world. You can't say that people did this with stone tools. It's impossible. The evidence is everywhere.
Everywhere. They're showing you the Ark of the Covenant. I just watched the young brother, I Show Speed. I seen him all in Egypt. They're talking about the Ark of the Covenant.
Which was said to be a technological device.
It's supposed to be a generator to be able to power these pyramids. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And to know that, and also, I know this kind of off topic, but it was real intriguing to me to see that Ethiopia was still in 2018 from the calendar, 13 months that they were working. And I just learned it from seeing this young brother go over. You know what I'm saying? I study a lot, but I was outside the loop on that one. I can't even lie. So I think
you're always going to be learning something new.
Yeah, that helps, man, to be able to have all this information. And, you know what I'm saying, for people to be able to get this type of exposure and knowledge. You know what I'm saying? That's me.
And it's there. It's there, Brian. You do have to step outside of your traditions and be okay looking. It's just the same as when we are children and sometimes our parents want us to go to college and do this route, and we're saying no.
That ain't what I want to do. It's not my purpose. I don't feel it.
And it's scary. It's scary because your parents are taking care of you, and you want to do something different, but you do it because you have to follow your inner guidance. And it's the same in church. It was good for a time. We needed it to. Since we were brought over here in slavery, it built a community. It built stability for the Black church, but it's good for a time, and that time is running out.
Yeah.
It is not, again, like we said, it's milk. It's not solid food.
Yeah. And what they're using it now, and even, not to go bash the church or go against the church, even in they book, in the book, the Bible, it speaks about that Jesus, he talked to synagogues. He, what I'm saying? He spoke to the people in the masses. He never, when he went back to the church, it just always kind of just boggled my mind, just for me, when he went back to the church and, he wasn't pleased with what he walked up on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you see,
so he never designed a church.
He never did. He went to a temple.
He spoke to the people in the streets. They walked up to him. He never went out looking for it. He didn't say you have to do it on Sunday. Matter of fact, the religious traditions that they had in that time with the Sabbath, he always broke.
That's Saturday, and if you try to go studies back to the temple, to the synagogues, to that's pretty much Islamic studies.
Yeah.
If you really just want to be honest about it, from just studying both books, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a fabric of Islam.
They
have division, and it's all the same thing. Dealing with the Torah, you know what I'm saying? Everything. It's just like it's all the books that go together, but it's just like, to me, I think it's a different level of growth. And I think that when some people reach to the point where they become herbalists and, spiritual guiders, you know what I'm saying? I think that they just vibrating on a higher frequency.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I just think that once you get,
you'll ever learn about in church.
Once you get all of this knowledge, it's like you step to another plane. You're able to see. It's like what like my man said, long live to Mr. Dick Gregory. He said when you take the glasses off, when you put the glasses of the world on, you can't never take them off. And I think that when people reach a higher spiritual calling like that, I think that's to the point where they get to that point to be able to see everything spiritual. But they keep your mind enclosed because they have us, you're doing traditional stuff. And what I learned most about being traditional and just about our culture is acceptance.
Yeah.
It's acceptance. I think that's one of the biggest things that our community struggles with. That's just me. Acceptance. Because they feel like you say, if it isn't traditional, the family's not going to accept their teaching or their belief, or they're going to say they're weird. And then, so that gives people room to judge. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they're not allowing people to walk into their purpose. So some people seclude their purpose just for those simple purposes because I'm afraid of what somebody's going to say or they're not going to accept me. You know what I'm saying? But when you start to walk into your purpose, you see that it's people that's already on this frequency that's going to accept you.
Oh, for hundreds of years.
You know what I'm saying? They're going to accept you. But I just think that we battle so much with acceptance, with the world, period. You know what I'm saying? Being accepted by the world, till it draws our culture to the point to we believe what everybody else wants us to believe. And it keeps us closed in. So it's hard to give you that meat because you're still a baby. You know what I'm saying? You still judging what I got.
You're not ready for it.
Yeah, when you make it to a higher plane, you don't judge. You kind of just look at the behavior, and it's a higher self and it's a lower self, and you kind of know how they operate.
Yes.
So
that knowledge comes through meditation. So even when I have, I do quite a few different things. I have my therapist business where, of course, I'm not leading anyone into any spiritual place. This is just where they come for mental health support. But I've always found that even in that, people are very confused. Their mental state has been compromised by spiritual beliefs. So they're trying to hold to a religion and what God wants them to do, and that is not. They don't even know what that is. So that's one layer of it. And then I do my talks. I'm a chakra energy therapist as well, so those separate things. But when people come to have that energy,
I had that one time. I had that experience one time
with the chakras.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, so I help people understand their energetic body, their aura and that chakra energetic system, because we are energy beings. We're not flesh and blood. That's physical. That's last. Before your flesh and blood, You are spirit, and that spirit has energy that contributes to the health and well-being of your physical body. And most of us don't know anything about that. And so I try to help people understand that when you feel depressed, there is a depressed energy going out from you that draws back a match.
Yeah.
You know, so it all goes back to how we are thinking. And our thinking is either influenced by what is outside of us or by what is inside of us. And most of us are influenced by what is outside of us.
Which would be emotion. You think that would be emotion?
Yes. There. What?
I said, do you think that would be emotion? Emotions from the outside?
Emotions, well, emotions are supposed to be guides, but we don't know that. Okay, so if I'm waiting for something outside of me to make me happy, and that will never happen. My partner will never make me happy or mad. I choose that. Now, if I keep waiting on the outside to make me happy or make me feel better or make me abundant, I will be waiting forever. But when I learn that I can go inside and connect with spirit through meditation and just be happy, then I start to draw other things to me that match that frequency.
Yeah.
But because we're always doing it backwards, we are always chasing. God is outside of us. Our happiness is down in the future somewhere. And we end up living our whole lives in this karmic wheel that we do not like.
A lack of knowledge, not knowing self. Not knowing self. And it took me a long time to really just understand that phrase, getting to know self, and to the point where I came into a situation where I had to be by myself.
You do.
And then, I had to get tired of being sick and tired, and I had to look into myself and feel like, what do I really like? Do I really like to just be going out? Do I really like to be comfortable at my home? Am I really happy with my spouse? And it made me start looking at stuff different. You know what I'm saying? And it made me, that's how I was able to find happiness. You know what I'm saying? To understand what makes me happy. And, I got over the word once again, you was going back to that acceptance. I just kind of just broke traditional from what I believe. You know what I'm saying? This is what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? This is how I believe. This is what I want to do. But most of all, I had to accept myself. This me. This is what I like to do. Everybody ain't gonna like it.
There's some negotiation that has to go on, and that's why it's a process. It's not something that you can
scary
decide.
Look though, to look into yourself though. It's real scary though when you look into yourself and you have to go back on all the stuff that you done did, and you have to go back and make amends with people, and
But let me tell you this, Brian. Before you do that, you're doing that every day in your mind and mental chatter. Every day your chatter in the back of your mind is reminding you of things, is thinking of things, is criticizing things, is putting you down, putting others down. And it's a chatter going on from the time that we wake up to the time we fall into sleep. Sometimes while we're asleep, we can hear that voice just going in our mind. And that's the ego mind. It has gone completely undisciplined. And we don't realize that that's the culprit. If there's a devil, that's it. It's chattering in your mind all the time. So whether you're going to sit down, like you're saying, and sit with yourself and start taking some accountability and making some changes, it will continue to rule over you where it's always chattering in the negative.
Yeah.
So I really help people tune into that mind chatter and start correcting it there.
Yeah. But, like I said, that gets scary. And, once you get and the best thing that helps, like you said, you're a mental health therapist, so you understand, the more that people be able to vent and to be able to express without, in a confined space where they understand that they information that they getting is going to be confident, it's not going to go no further. I think that helps a lot when you're able to have a spouse or a friend where you can able to express some of those feelings sometimes. Yeah, but it also, because it gives you the time to reflect. You know what I'm saying? And I think that talking, a lot of time, once again, we close ourselves off because we really don't know how to even express ourselves as humans sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's out of anger. You get frustrated with life instead of just talking about it. Some people take it out with violence. You know, when stuff can be talked about, but it's still a battle.
And you're right. Some people want to, that you want to get married, and maybe you do have a spouse you can be honest with, but maybe you don't. You know, maybe your spouse is just as confused as you are, and I find that in working with couples, we're blaming each other. Yeah. You know, we're mad now. The focal point of my unhappiness is my partner. Yeah. You know, it's not just money, it's job. Yes. Now my partner is awful. Why won't he do this, or why won't she do this? And so we double down on the misery when we get married. Well, really, it's a going inward, a meditation, and giving yourself time. We're in a society where we want a pill to fix it. Yeah. You know, and it's just not that simple. A pill is going to suppress some symptoms. You'll feel better for a while, and then you got to deal with yourself anyway. You know, I get numerous clients that come to me with diagnoses of anxiety and depression and PTSD, and they're taking all of these drugs, and they're not helping. Yeah. They're not helping at all.
Because once you come up out of that drug, it has a side effect that's going to put you in a deeper state.
Yeah, now you're adding side effects to the matter.
It's going to get a little bit more difficult. It's going to get difficult now because you can't function with it. And then what if you get in put
feel like a zombie? I've never taken it myself, but from what I get from clients, and you know, they feel like a zombie. I have one client that comes to mind who her mother was murdered in front of her when she was 10. By a boyfriend, not her dad, but by a boyfriend. And she ended up not even having time to process that as a 10-year-old. She was living now with grandma. Grandma wouldn't let her live with her father. So she had all of this trauma going on. And here she is, 20-something, on these drugs that the psychiatrist gave her. Now she has nightmares from what she saw, still in her 20s. But the drugs that the psychiatrist gave her now lock her in the nightmare.
Yeah, so they do, because it trapped that thought. It trapped the thought, yeah.
Yeah, so she couldn't sleep, so they give her something to sleep, but now she has the nightmare and can't wake up from the nightmare. You know, so...
Side effect difficult.
Yeah, there's no quick fix for this. Yeah. But as long as you start to meditate, I always say learn to meditate. Meditation is a challenge at first, but only because we don't keep at it. You know, anything that we become better at, we do over and over, we practice. And meditation takes practice. But it does get you to a state where you're dealing with yourself and your divine creator, and you can move through things a lot differently. You know, it opens up information. You have a pathway to the other side. You know, when I was in Christianity, I would ask, well, why doesn't God still speak through prophets anymore? Why did that stop? And I was told because, you know, everything was fulfilled in Jesus. And I said, okay. But it didn't stop. You can still commune with the divine. It may not always be audibly, but it may be audibly, you know, or you may learn there's other ways to commune with spirit that we don't learn about. And so learning the language of spirit is another way that meditation helps. You start to understand numbers, how God communicates through nature. You know, in church, I never learned about the planets and the movement of the stars. Why wouldn't that make sense? That's all a creation of God. Yeah. So why would you now take that from us and say, oh, that's gibberish, you know, that's satanic? No, God created the stars.
Yeah, and that's how they create that, and that's how a lot of things was calculated through the world. That's how it pretty much orchestrated stars. Mm-hmm. You know, exactly. The Egyptians had knowledge of the stars, the constellation. How to move, how to work portals, how to get out of there, how to get back in there. They knew
and the power. Your birth sign, you know, your birth sign helps to know how to move through life. Yeah. In business, while you're here. You know, so there's a lot.
I'm a Gemini.
Okay, Gemini.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a Gemini.
Yeah, and I'm a Leo. So, you know, and now you have things like ChatGPT and stuff like that to assist, but really it does take a personal decision that I'm.
You got to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm going to
start. It's just that simple. You got to run that rabbit hole. You just got to keep digging and digging and digging and digging and digging, and they'll come into infinity knowledge.
Yes, and whatever is needed. You know, sometimes we think, what we're struggling with. Let's take for it. Some people struggle. They think they shouldn't be having sex out of marriage, and they're still doing it, and they're like a rabbit, you know. And you will find that once you start meditating, that's not even the problem. The spirit might show you something else. And then all of a sudden, once you accept that and you carry it and you work on it and you let it go, that you no longer have the desire, the lustful desire that you had before. So it's, you know, there's a lot to this that you really, you know, starting with meditation is a big part. And if people want to ask me how to do that, you know, you can always find me online.
Okay, what's your information? What's your tag online?
My Instagram and TikTok are prosperityhouse.co. That is my wellness center here in Dallas. And I have a website, prosperityhouse.co, and also my therapist, Sophia.com.
Okay. And where's your book located? Well, going into your book,
my book, you can order it on any of the Amazon, any of those websites, or you can go to my website, prosperityhouse.co.
And the name of that book is Soul Walk.
Soul Walk, Before, During, and After Life.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And where can you find it at again?
It is on Amazon and anywhere books are sold. And I also have it on my website, prosperityhouse.co.
Yeah, and if they need to be taught a form of meditation, how could they say that? Because I want them to make sure that they can get this information.
Yes, good question. Shame on me. I also have a YouTube channel, but that is called Rhythm of Life. But you can do Sophia Russell on YouTube, The Rhythm of Life. That's my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And there are some meditations there. Some of the talks I give are there. I will be at the Grapevine Wellness Expo here in the Texas area, Grapevine, Texas, in April. I'll be at one on February 1st in Georgetown, Texas. Okay. So I do talk about this all the time, but of course you can reach out to me online through any of those avenues.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I want to let everybody know before we wrap this up, man. I hope that y'all got the information. Miss Sophia, I think we're going to have to do a part 2 to this thing.
Yes, sir.
I really think we're going to have to do a part 2 because I think this was a very interesting conversation, but we're running out of time. But I still want to talk about this type of stuff right here. You know what I'm saying? So, because it's really,
yes, I love it.
It's really important. And, you know, once again, world, you know, this is Miss Sophia Russell. As you see, beautiful spirit, very well-rounded, knowledgeable. And you can follow her on all these sites right here. You know,
thank you.
You know, Miss Sophia Russell, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for everything that you're doing out here for our coaches, to be able to wake our people up, to be able to give them the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that they need to move and grow on this planet.
Yes.
You know,
thank you
for being a star seed out here, shining on us out here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And listen, world, it's your boy, man, John Road Turk, man. You tapped into a Country Boy Hustle, man. We wrapping up a new episode with Miss Sophia Russell, man. Once again, therapist, author, beautiful soul, man. Very knowledgeable, man. Also spiritual guide and leader in our community. And Miss Sophia, before we get out here, can you tell them where they can find those books? I want to make sure that they got it all locked in.
Yes, Soul Walk, Before, During, and After Life by Sophia Russell, Sophia, Russell, Russell. You can find it on Amazon. You can go to my website, prosperityhouse.co.
And once again, man, y'all heard it, man. It's your boy, Country Boy Hustle, John Road Turk, man. Mr. Brian Overton, man. We here, man, with Miss Sophia Russell, man. Thank y'all, world, for locking into a new episode of Country Boy Hustle, man. Y'all stay tuned for a powerful music mix. Cheese, please.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.